All right, let's dive into something super interesting today, something that really hits home for a lot of us. We're going to be talking about uh, personality,
Right.
and like how it connects to actually finding a career you love and how all that's changing in this crazy world of AI and tech and everything.
Hmm.
So, we've got some pretty cool materials from rutherfordintel.io. Have you heard of those guys?
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty interesting.
Yeah, and their parent company, Rutherford International, they're like a global bigwig in the whole executive search and talent development scene.
Yeah, a lot of experience there.
Huge experience. And get this, they say they can, like, actually pinpoint your perfect career path just from your personality. We're talking like out of 2,500 different possibilities. That's a lot.
That's a lot of possibility. That's pretty amazing, right? Like, can AI actually do that? Find you a job you'll actually love? Big question.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question we're going to try to answer today, right?
Totally. One thing that really jumps out from all this Rutherford Intel stuff is how much they focus on self-awareness. Like, they really believe it's the foundation for, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Even got this quote. Listen to this. Self-awareness is the bedrock of genuine growth. Okay, a little
Yeah.
dramatic. It allows us to peer into the well of our being. Whoa.
Peer into it. Well, that's deep, right? You ever feel that way? Like sometimes you're just trying to fit into this box that's totally not you.
Oh, totally. All the time, right? And I think that disconnect when you're not being true to yourself, that's where you get all that frustration and, burnout.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that's actually something Rutherford Intel talks about. They call it personality dysphoria. It's like when your personality and your job just clash. But okay, let's get down to brass tacks here. How does this Rutherford Intel thing actually guide you on this whole self-discovery journey? They have this assessment thing, but they're like, no, no, this isn't just another BuzzFeed quiz.
Right, right. They're calling it personality DNA, which, sounds pretty serious. And it was developed by this behavioral scientist, Dr. Larry Cash. So, you know, there's some real science behind it, apparently.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, they talk about millions of data points, and their model is like 99% more accurate than other assessments. Global 2,000 companies are using it. That's that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes you want to learn more, for sure. But, I'm curious, how do they actually take all these personality traits and map them onto actual careers? Like, what's the data behind that? Did they publish anything, like some peer-reviewed research? And what happens after you take this analysis?
Okay, well, so they've identified 12 distinct personality archetypes.
Yeah.
So it's all based on how different traits like combine within us. And they had this really interesting way of putting it. They say, just as atoms bond to form complex molecules in chemistry,
Okay.
these traits naturally combine to create intricate personality factors similar to the atomic chains of complex chemical molecules such as amino acids. You following?
Hmm. Yeah, okay. I see the analogy, but it does sound a bit, like our personalities are set in stone, right? Like it dictates everything about our career.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we have any choice in the matter? And what are some of these archetypes? Like, what are we talking about?
It's a good question. It'd be interesting to see how much they emphasize like personal choice and growth over time.
Yeah.
But they're talking about these archetypes like the opportunist versus the altruist,
Right.
or the analytic versus the holistic. Like each of those represents a different way of seeing the world, making decisions.
I see, yeah. Which way do you lean? I mean, that's fascinating to think about which one of those resonates with you most, right? But it's important to remember that Rutherford Intel doesn't just give you a label and then they're like, see ya.
Right, right.
They have all these resources like self-study materials, coaching, even connect you with other people who share your personality type, like a community.
Yeah. So it's more than just a test. It's like a
Mhm.
whole platform for personal growth, professional growth.
Exactly. It's a platform. And then what if you're actually trying to, make a career move?
Right. How do you actually get a job?
Well, that's where the TalentNet Career Portal comes in. This is specifically for high achievers, people who are looking for, a job with real meaning, connections with top employers.
Mhm.
And they claim that 50% of the people they get hired through that portal end up getting promoted within 18 months.
Hold on, 50%. That's huge. But what's the average, What are other career portals doing? And how are they even measuring that?
Yeah, those are good questions. It's always good to be a little skeptical, right? Look beyond the marketing hype. But stepping back, how does this all fit into the bigger picture of hiring and stuff? Especially with AI changing everything so fast. Rutherford International seems to know that AI is going to make a lot of recruitment like way more efficient.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard about those AI resume scanners and chatbots,
Yeah.
right? But for those really high-level positions like CEOs and stuff, or, super specialized roles, they still think that human touch is crucial.
Yeah.
Like, you can't replace that understanding of the nuances, the relationships, those judgment calls that algorithms can't make yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where this statistic they talk about gets really interesting. They claim that 80% of involuntary employee departures, so people getting fired or let go, are because of behavior, not because they're not good at their job.
Wow!
Think about that. You can teach skills, right? But if there's like personality clashes, bad communication, that's much harder to fix.
That's a good point. It really makes you think about self-awareness on a whole other level, not just for yourself, but for your whole team.
Right.
Imagine if everybody in your workplace understood their own behavioral patterns and how they impact everyone else. That could make things so much smoother, right? More productive.
Totally. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it seems like Rutherford International is betting on a future where AI and human insight work together, They've actually structured their whole company that way.
Okay, so tell me about this Rutherford ecosystem then. What are the pieces?
Okay, so they have three main branches. First, you've got the classic executive search firm, Rutherford and Company.
Yeah.
Then there's RutherfordIntel.io, the personality assessment and development side. And then the TalentNet career portal we talked about.
Gotcha. So it's like identify, develop, and connect. Full circle, right?
Yeah, full circle. And they have some big goals for the 2020s too.
Okay, lay it on me.
They want to be global leaders in talent management, creating these vibrant communities of professionals and setting new standards for growth. It's a pretty big vision.
It is. It's huge. But doesn't it also raise some big questions? This whole AI and personality-driven career thing, it's kind of freaky to think that an algorithm could, decide your future, right? What if it gets it wrong? Or what if we get so dependent on AI that we forget how to make these decisions ourselves?
That's a question worth thinking about, isn't it? Would you trust AI to choose your career path? What other things, besides personality, would matter to you? Maybe that's something to think about as we keep digging into this Rutherford Intel stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. Let's take a closer look at their executive search work then.
It's kind of funny. Their executive search thing, it all started in real estate. Not exactly what you'd think of when you're talking personality and career stuff.
I know, right? At first I was like, personality in office buildings, how does that even work? But okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Okay, so Rutherford and Company, they've been placing executives in all sorts of real estate roles for decades. Finance, investments, development, management. But it's not just about crunching numbers and closing deals, right? They've also worked on some pretty diverse projects. Think port logistics in Tunisia, shipping logistics in Libya, some pretty complex international stuff.
Wow, so they're not just matching resumes, they're thinking about the kind of personality it takes to succeed in those environments.
Exactly. And they've also done a lot of advising for family offices, succession planning, organizational restructuring. So they definitely get the human side of business, which makes sense with their whole personality focus.
Okay, so they know their stuff when it comes to executive search. But let's go back to RutherfordIntel.io. You mentioned all these resources for, growth and stuff. What exactly are we talking about?
So they have different levels. You can start with a basic personality summary, and they have these communities based on your type.
Okay.
But they also offer deeper dives, like a whole self-awareness journey they call Who Am I? What Can I Be?
That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah. And for people who want to be leaders, there's a C-suite prospect report all about leadership style and development. And then if you're really serious about, reaching your full potential, they do one-on-one coaching and even put together these mastermind groups.
Mastermind groups. That's like next level networking, right? For people who are really driven.
Exactly. And, remember that 50% promotion rate we talked about? That's for people hired through their TalentNet career portal. It's not just about finding jobs. It's about connecting with mentors, collaborators, maybe even co-venture partners.
So it's like LinkedIn, but for high achievers who've all taken this personality test.
Exactly. But okay, let's be real. There's a ton of personality tests out there. What makes this personality DNA thing so special? They compare it to the periodic table, which seems like a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, right. Are we talking chemistry now?
It is a wild comparison, but they're serious about the science, They explain that, just like how atoms bond to make molecules, different personality traits interact and combine within us.
Okay.
They call these combinations personality factors. It's not just about having one trait or another. It's about how they all work together.
So it's not just You're high in extroversion. It's more
Wow.
nuanced than that.
Exactly. And they've identified 6 key personality factors, each with 2 opposite archetypes, like opportunist versus altruist. That's about balancing business smarts with, wanting to help people, or imaginative versus inventive, thinking about how pure creativity meets practical application.
I like that they're showing both sides are valuable. It's about how those seemingly opposite traits can work together.
Totally. And there's more. Analytic versus holistic, social versus insightful, even results oriented versus process oriented. It's kind of cool to think about which ones resonate with you and how understanding those tendencies could help you make better choices, not just about work, but life in general.
Yeah, so it's bigger than just a job. It's about using this self-awareness to make decisions that align with your values and what you really want out of life.
Exactly. But okay, let's say you take their assessment and you find out your unique blend of archetypes. What then? How do they connect that to specific careers?
Yeah, how does that work?
They have this massive database. They've analyzed tons of successful people from all different industries looking for patterns. Like, do people with this specific combination of traits tend to do really well in this kind of role?
So they're using data to map personality profiles to actual career success.
Right. And they can tell you about your leadership potential, your likely corporate performance, even stuff about your health and well-being. It's really detailed.
Wow, that's a lot. It's almost like they're trying to predict your whole life, not just your career.
It's ambitious, for sure. But their philosophy seems to be, if you really understand yourself, the possibilities are endless.
Okay, that's inspiring, but also kind of scary. What if I don't figure this whole self-discovery thing out? Am I doomed? It's a lot of pressure.
Don't worry. They have lots of support. Remember the coaching and community groups? They're there to help you, not just understand the results, but actually use them to make real-life decisions.
So it's like they give you the map and the compass, basically.
Exactly. But what about people who aren't, aiming for the C-suite or even a traditional career? What if you're more of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, good point.
Well, they've got that covered too. Their Talent Net Career Portal, it's not just for full-time jobs. They work with fractional executives, independent contractors, consultants. They even help entrepreneurs find funding.
Wow, they've really thought of everything.
Yeah.
Didn't they also mention something about a specific number of career paths they can identify?
Yeah. They say their assessment can narrow it down to 15 to 20 ideal career paths for you out of 2,500 possible options.
That's a big difference. But wait, how did they even come up with 2,500 different career paths?
That's a good question. The materials we have don't really explain that, but still the idea that they can analyze your personality and say, these are the top 20 careers that could make you happiest and most successful, it's pretty wild.
It is. It brings us back to that whole question of, how much is destiny? How much is choice?
Right.
Do we have free will, or are we just following a script?
Deep stuff, right. But I think their message is ultimately about empowerment. By knowing our tendencies, we can make smarter choices, whether it's about work, relationships, even just how we grow as people.
Yeah, it's not about fighting who we are. It's about using our strengths and even owning our so-called weaknesses.
Exactly. But hold on, they also mentioned something called multiple personality combinations, right?
Yeah, what's that about? Do we all have multiple personalities now?
It's not that crazy, but it is interesting. They talk about hybrid personalities, which means you might have strong traits from a couple different archetypes. So imagine someone who's a super driven opportunist, all about achieving goals, but also a really empathetic altruist who wants to make a difference. That combination could lead to a really cool career, right?
Now, that makes sense. We're all complicated people, not just walking stereotypes.
Totally. And then they have these chameleon personalities who can adapt to any social situation.
Community. Do they change color?
Not literally, but they can connect with anyone. They're natural networkers, which is a huge asset these days.
I wonder if that's something you learn or if you're just born that way.
Good question, and they don't really answer that. But probably a bit of both, right?
Yeah, probably. Any other personality variations?
They talk about the versatile personality, too.
Versatile, good at everything.
Well, not everything, but they have a bunch of different talents.
Mm.
Think Leonardo da Vinci, inventor, artist, musician, engineer, all of it.
A true Renaissance man.
Exactly. Their assessment results usually show 3 or 4 top scores that are all basically equal, so no clear dominant type. They could excel in lots of areas, but the hard part might be figuring out which one to focus on.
Yeah, that's where the coaching and community stuff could be super helpful, right? Helping them find a path that fits their passions, not just their skills.
Totally. And that's a key takeaway from all this. Self-awareness isn't just about knowing your strengths. It's about knowing your values, what motivates you, what really makes you tick. It's about knowing yourself so you can make choices that lead to a good life.
So it's not just what you're good at, it's what you enjoy, what aligns with your core values.
Exactly. But how do people actually get access to all this stuff? How do they use Rutherford Intel?
Yeah, good question.
Well, they have a website, rutherfordintel.io. You can learn more there. Even download a free preview of their ebook.
Free stuff, always good.
And of course, you can take their assessment to get all the personalized insights and guidance.
Sounds like it's time to start that self-discovery journey.
Totally. But before we send everyone over to rutherfordintel.io, we should talk about their goals for the 2020s. They've got some big plans, right?
Yeah, they do. They want to be like the world leader in talent management, setting the standard for professional growth in every industry.
That's a huge goal.
It is. What else are they going for?
They want to keep expanding and improving their services, always using the latest tech and methods to stay ahead of the game.
So they're not just sitting back, they're constantly innovating.
Exactly. And they also want to build this awesome community of professionals, leaders, visionaries, people who are committed to their own careers and helping others.
Like an ecosystem of support and collaboration where everybody wins.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And finally, they want Rutherford International to be the go-to advisor for companies who want to, up their talent game.
So they're not just focusing on individuals, they're trying to change how companies think about talent altogether.
Exactly. It's like they're on a mission to revolutionize the whole future of work.
It's a cool vision. I'm curious to see what they do. But hold on, they also talk about this thing called high-stakes decisions. Those choices that can really impact your life.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds intense. What kind of decisions?
Like big career changes, relationship commitments, even where you decide to live, the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night, wondering if you're making the right call.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
And they say a lot of us struggle with these decisions because we're not really connected to our true selves.
So we're making choices based on like outside pressure or what society expects instead of what really matters to us.
Exactly. They think that knowing your personality DNA can give you the clarity and confidence to make those high stakes decisions in a way that truly aligns with who you are. And that leads to more happiness, more fulfillment.
Okay, I'm sold. Where do I sign up?
Their website's a good start, but I think the real value comes when you take their assessment and dive into all the resources they offer, the personalized reports, coaching, the community groups.
It's like a whole toolkit for self-discovery.
Right, and they even talk about how traditional personality tests fall short. A lot of them are fun, but not that useful for making big decisions.
Yeah, like knowing you're an introvert or extrovert is interesting, but it doesn't tell you what job to take or who to marry.
Exactly. Rutherford Intel wants to be different. They want to give you self-knowledge that actually helps you make big decisions with more confidence. It's not just telling you who you are, it's helping you figure out what you want and how to get it.
Okay, I like that. It all connects back to their vision for the future, right?
Yeah.
Global leaders, communities setting new standards for growth, all based on this idea of self-awareness.
Totally. It's like they're saying when people understand themselves, amazing things can happen.
And they're building the tools to make that happen.
Exactly. Well, I think we've given everyone a pretty thorough look at Rutherford Intel and their approach.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. Their personality assessment, their resources, their goals.
And most importantly, the power of self-awareness for, a good life, a successful career.
That's something we can all benefit from no matter what.
So if you're ready to start your own self-discovery journey, go check out rutherfordintel.io.
You might be surprised what you find out. All right, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening and happy exploring.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to think that just by understanding ourselves better, we can make choices that actually lead to a happier life. It's like they're saying the future of work isn't just about your skills. It's about, aligning who you are with what you do.
Exactly, aligning your whole self with your career. And it's amazing how Rutherford Intel actually brings all of that together. They've got this whole ecosystem, right, helping you identify your strengths, figure out what you might be good at, and then, connecting you with those opportunities, all those resources and support systems we talked about, the reports, the coaching, the community groups. It's like a complete toolkit for self-discovery and growth.
And they really address that problem with those traditional personality tests, right? The ones that are, fun to take, but don't really give you much to work with when it comes to making those big life decisions. Knowing if you're an introvert or extrovert, that's cool, but it doesn't tell you what career to choose or who to marry. That's so true. Rutherford Intel, they want to be different. They've made their assessment, like, go deeper, you know? So you get that self-knowledge that actually helps you make those life-changing decisions with, like, more confidence. It's not just about telling you who you are, it's about helping you figure out what you want and how to get it.
I like that. And it all ties back to their vision for the future, right?
Mm.
Being global leaders in talent management, building those communities, setting new standards. It's all about the power of self-awareness.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individuals either. They want to change how companies find and develop talent. They see a future where organizations and individuals are on the same page, you know? More productivity, happier employees, everybody wins.
It's a really interesting vision. I'm curious to see what they do next. But for now, I think we've given everyone a pretty good deep dive into the world of Rutherford Intel.
Yeah, I think so too. We've covered their personality assessment, their resources, their goals for the future.
And most importantly, we talked about how important self-awareness is for, a happy and successful life, no matter what you do.
Totally. It's a journey we can all take no matter where we are in our careers or in life.
So if you're ready to start exploring, go check out rutherfordintel.io.
You might be surprised what you discover.
Maybe you'll even find that dream career. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us and happy exploring.